my bed to the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell. 13, 14, 15, 16. Today's the day. Are you coming? Are you I'm sick of being normal, I'm sick of being average. I'm sick of being mortal, I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Foot up on the pedal, pushing hard to the metal. Make a deal with the devil. Channel rage through my vessel into something that is special. Energy of a rebel, going up a level. I just wanna be greatness. I could feel changes, turn a new page and tie up my laces. I will be the bravest, break out of my cages. I will not be nameless, I will not be aimless.
Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Ladies and gents, what is going on? And welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 231, or 230. So there was actually some confusion in the promo. I put 231 out there, but it actually should be 230. We actually did not do an episode last week. So episode 230 looks like that is what we're doing tonight. So, guys, this is a little bit of a tricky week. We had our guest that was supposed to come on tonight. He had to cancel, he had to postpone. So he's coming on next week. It's my guy, Ray Slemmer. He's going to be on for episode 231. We're going to be talking about leadership through Christianity. We're going to talk about family. We're going to talk about business. Ray's in the real estate field. Him and his wife, I love what they're doing out there in Orlando, Florida. They're doing big things. They're kind of a team out there, and they're kind of building their business from the ground up. So I'm excited to get Ray on here, first time guest next Thursday. He was supposed to be this week, but due to a last minute cancellation, we had to shift the calendar around. And when you shift the calendar around on the day of, it's pretty tough. So it's just going to be me tonight. I did put promo, put some of my guys that are essentially, Rob, Rich, and Mario. They're basically a part of the team here, but I am the main host here, and it is difficult sometimes on a last-minute schedule. Everybody works, everybody has jobs, businesses, so it is tough to get those guys on. They were just listed as tentative for tonight, but I know Rob's not going to be able to make it. Mario will not be able to make it due to transportation getting home. And then also Rich will not be able to make it either. So I'm going to be soloing this one. But the show will go on. We're not going to cancel. We're not going to postpone because we did that last week. So we're not going to do that 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to continue this and be able to bring this forward. So guys, 2:30, like I said. So the topic tonight, if you haven't seen the promo on Facebook or YouTube, if you're on Facebook, I'm assuming you saw the promo. On YouTube, maybe you haven't. What we're talking about tonight is basically the catchy headline of it is there's no stability without accountability. Basically the importance of taking accountability and also developing emotional intelligence from a man's perspective. Two things that are very, very important. Accountability is big on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but I will say this just from a man's perspective. I think men are less likely to get away, not likely to get away with being not accountable. That's not a slight on women. It's just kind of how it is. If you're a man and you can't take accountability, you're really going to struggle in life. There's just no real way around it. So accountability is so critical. And another thing that's just not talked about enough is emotional intelligence for a lot of men out there. As men, we are built to be providers, right? That talks like we're here for you, providers and protectors. So we want to provide for our families financially. And we also physically want to be able to protect our families. But the emotional intelligence side of it, that requires being vulnerable, requires being able to have empathy. We're going to dive all into that, but that is very important. And it's something that I've learned through therapy. And it's something that I've also learned through, connect groups through my church. Like just being and understanding if you have people in your life that you can lean on, not everybody does. Being able to understand that it's okay to be open, it's okay to be vulnerable, but through that process, you kind of strengthen your emotional intelligence muscle. Anyway, we're going to get all into that tonight, why it is so important. And I'm only speaking from a man's perspective because I'm a man. So I'm not going to, speak for women. Women as well, if we get a guest panel on that, can speak on that side of it. So I was hoping to get some of my brothers in here tonight for this one. But like I said, it is it's a very last minute switch of a topic. So guys, before we even hop into it tonight, I do want to break down the calendar going forward for the podcast so that you guys have a clear understanding of what's going on going forward, because there has been a shift in the calendar as I've gotten new guests and things to come forward. So not just Ray next week. So tonight's episode, that's what I said it is. There's no stability without accountability. Next week is going to be mindset, family, business principles, and we're just going to talk about our faith through Christianity with my guy Ray Slemmer, next Thursday, the 23rd. Fast forward to a week later, October 30th, we are going to be talking about the importance of purpose, family, and health, amongst other things, with first-time guest Frank Leto. So Frank is who I'm planning to have on in 2 weeks. Me and Frank, we just kind of met, honestly, through like Facebook, but Frank knows people that I know. I want to get Frank on the podcast. Frank has some really cool things coming on too. Like there's some cool stuff I really want to show on this podcast. Frank's comes on. I'm not going to diverge too much onto that. I'm not going to divulge too much about that yet. I'd rather be able to kind of go through that as that episode comes in 2 weeks. Frank Leto and Ray Slemmer, 2 first-time guests coming up. And then the week after that, I'm not sure if this is going to be November 6th or not. I'm not quite sure yet because this guy has a very busy schedule. So we may have to flex this to another day. But the topic will be, as of now, November 6th, might be Wednesday, might be a Tuesday, might be November 5th, might be November 4th on a Tuesday. The importance of vulnerability in men is kind of somewhat goes into this topic tonight, but it's ultimately a first-time guest is coming on. So he's a life coach, and he's also a speaker. He goes around the country, talks to a lot of young men, and he was honestly the leader of my first Connect group through Fusion Church in Egg Harbor Township. His name is Nate Evans. So Nate gave some advice for our Father's episode, but Nate is who I'm planning to get on in 3 weeks. And it's going to be the importance of vulnerability in men, becoming a stable presence as a man for your partner / wife. Basically, that's what the topic is going to be. Nate is going to come on. Nate will give you his story. But I'm excited, to be able to get all these new guests on within the next 3 weeks. Ray is a definite. Frank and Nate, I got to kind of juggle and see what day they can get on here. But I am excited. We got a bunch of new guests coming on here going forward. Just wanted to break down the calendar for the next 3-4 weeks. And then we have some other good episodes coming up, and we'll promote that as we get closer. We just want to make sure that we fill these episodes and have them locked in for now. All right. So with all that said, as a mouthful is a lot, we're going to dive into this episode tonight, guys. Like I said, I'm going by myself tonight. This is going to be solo. But before we do hop into it, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I beg you. It helps out so much. And make sure that you hit that little notification bell in the corner too to turn those notifications on, especially if you like content related to personal growth or sports, because we're a Philly sports podcast here. So we do talk 4for4 Philly sports, sometimes Union too. So maybe 5for5 Philadelphia Union through soccer. So if you like content related to either sports or the majority of the time when we talk here is personal growth, you don't want to miss this podcast. Hit the subscribe button and turn those notifications on. With that being said, if you're watching on Facebook, I'm assuming you're already part of the community. So thank you for that. Still, like on YouTube, hit that like button. It really, really helps us out, guys. We want to get traction. We want to get seen. So hit the like button on this podcast, guys. And also comment in tonight. If you're out there watching and you have anything that you want to comment in, please comment in and join to the discussion. Like I said, on YouTube, I can put your comments on screen unless you ask me not to. Facebook can't put you on screen due to privacy concerns with Meta, but I can read them out loud. And I do have Facebook monitored too. So YouTube will come up here on the screen for me. Facebook, I just have them monitored. So with that being said, enjoy the show, guys. But commenting and liking, it helps us out so much. It gets us traction. It gets us seen. It gets us in front of more faces. And we want to help people. Like, that's the ultimate goal of this podcast. And other guests that come on, we want them to get their story out there. So, and guys, our subscribers have increased a lot through the last year. But I do want to try to get this podcast in front of as many people as I can. So it helps me out a lot if you guys like and comment. So we're giving a lot of gems here. Appreciate it if we can get it in front of more people and get that subscriber count up. All right, guys. So I'm not gonna waste too much time here tonight. I already did with the promos. We're already 15 minutes in with the intro and all the promotion with the calendar. Let me pull Facebook up here. But guys, I'm going to dive into this. This is a really, really dear topic, near and dear to me, because it's something I've struggled with. Not so much accountability, but more so on the emotional intelligence side for sure. A lot of my life, I have been getting, lately people recognize that I am more vulnerable. I'm more, I guess, self-aware and empathetic. People go, you're so empathetic, you can communicate well. But here's the thing, guys, is I was not always that way. And if anybody who's known me for a long time knows that. And I have a lot of friends that are very similar. I think for men, emotional intelligence is something that we just don't discuss enough about. Like we don't talk about it enough. And usually women are the ones who are seen as emotionally intuitive and everything like that. But I think a lot of relationships and marriages fail due to men not having that emotional intelligence. I think that's a big thing because men, we are wired, right, in our nature to be, like I said, providers. We are wired to hunt and gather essentially for our family, to build stability. That comes through financial stability. It comes through physical presence, right? We're men. We got to protect ours. We got to protect our, we need to be able to go to war for ours, you know what I mean? And be able to protect our families. But at the end of the day, of course, that's the natural thing that probably comes to your mind when you think masculinity is probably you think protect and provide. Yes. But stability doesn't just come in forms of physical, protection and financial stability. It also comes in the fact of emotional stability. This is something I've learned throughout relationships I've been in, how important it is to be able to provide emotional stability, to essentially be that rock, because that rock isn't just physically, that rock isn't just financially, that rock is emotionally and spiritually, pouring into your partner, communicating, being a healthy and stable presence. Those things are all so important. And I think a lot of men struggle with that. I have personally seen, not only have I struggled with it when I was younger, but I have seen men personally, I don't say any names, whose relationships and also marriages have failed because of this solely. This is a serious thing. Our women need to feel safe with us, right? They need to feel heard, seen, and understood. And if we are not making them feel heard, seen, and understood, they operate differently than we do. Any women can feel free to comment in on this too, and let me know. But like I'll say something like sex is different for women than it is for men. Women a lot of times need to feel safe with their partner to be able to open up to that. A lot of women. I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of women. Whereas different for men, men, they may not need that, and they could just, be able to have that type of intimacy. We're wired differently, in terms of those things. But it's very important as a man to be able to understand not just emotional intelligence for your partner too. If you're a single man out there too, emotional intelligence is so important because of self-awareness as well. So I have some notes here I want to go through for you guys. Let me just pull up Facebook real quick. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. All right, cool. Put you guys over here so that way I can monitor as I'm going through. So I can monitor the comments as they come in. Check both. So we got 2 pages, guys. I don't know if you know that. If you're not, we have a private and a public community here. There we go. All right. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. All right. Just give me. There we go. All right, guys. So it took like a minute, but all right. So why is emotional intelligence so important when it comes to men? So it's not just in relationships. That's important too. To be able to read your partner, for sure. Be able to connect with them on that level. But what I would say is when it regards your actual personal mental well-being, very important as well. Essentially, emotional intelligence, what it can do for your personal well-being is it can really help when it comes to managing your stress and anxiety. It helps men recognize negative thought patterns, triggers, allowing us to take the steps to manage our well-being. That's important. Really understanding you first and foremost. You have to understand yourself, understand your triggers, understand your patterns, be able to work through them and understand when negative things come up, we don't always react the right way. You know, a lot of times people will crash out. And here's the thing: you want to be able to feel your emotions, right? There's times and place to do it. You absolutely should. Don't suppress. That's the worst thing you can do, is to suppress your feelings, suppress your emotions. But being emotionally intelligent is going to allow you to manage your stress, manage your anxiety, understand what your triggers are, really dive deep and to understand those things. And we can do them just by honestly doing a serious, thorough look and just being accountable and looking at how we reacted in stressful situations in the past, understanding what maybe triggered those situations. If you can take an honest assessment to really sit down and figure that out, you can start to understand these things. I also always suggest, if you can't and you struggle with those things, sit down with a therapist. And look, it's really vulnerable and it's really uncomfortable at first. When I did my first therapy session, August of 2024. So I didn't go to my first therapy session until I was 31 years old. That was the first time I attended a therapy session. And it was about 14 months ago. I attended my first therapy session, and I hit a struggle in, something that I did, you know what I mean? Like there were things that I had to learn. There was just a rock bottom moment inside of my life where it was like, I knew that I needed it because I did something, you know what I mean? Like you do certain things and you're like, this, whatever my triggers or my patterns, I need to try to do something different. And I will say, getting into therapy was one of the best things that I probably ever did in my life, like, to be honest. And it is, I'm not going to lie, as a man, it can be for anybody, to be honest. It's awkward at first, especially if you've never been through therapy before. It requires a lot of vulnerability. And it's ultimately, you build trust with that therapist as you go through. And I'm going to be honest, don't settle at your first therapist if you're not jiving with them. Give them maybe a couple sessions and really see, because the first therapist that I went to, that's not my therapist now. So I'll be honest, like, you don't have to feel ashamed if it's not working out with the first person. Really assess and look around and see what works for you. So take a look around and try to understand. What I would also say is emotional intelligence, it helps you to build resilience as a man. So you're able to navigate your emotions. You're able to challenge rigid gender roles. You're able to live a more balanced and fulfilling life. It fosters a deeper sense of purpose within you too, having emotional intelligence, because you're able to understand one's emotional world, right? You're able to, it can lead to clarity on your life purpose and your values, having that emotional intelligence. So those are important things when it comes to, even if you're a single man out there, maybe you don't have a partner right now. Those are things that really can help foster. When it comes to your relationships, emotional intelligence for sure is going to strengthen your relationship. If you are able to develop a certain sense of emotional intelligence, a strong sense of emotional intelligence, you're going to be able to strengthen your relationships. I'm not just talking with your partner, but with the relationships around you, like your friends and your family. By understanding and managing your emotions, us as men, we can foster deeper connections with, like I said, our partners, our family, our friends. It improves our communication. So it enables men to express our feelings more effectively, to better interpret the emotions of others as well, like being more intuitive, really being able to understand when our partner is struggling, right? Or our friends are struggling, being able to, or our family members are struggling. Like, we can effectively better interpret those needs, leading to better interpersonal skills overall as men. And overall too, it increases empathy. Developing the emotional intelligence, it's going to allow men to feel greater empathy, which is something that lacks for a lot of men now these days. A lot of men were very cold, were very standoffish. And a lot of it is due to, as men, we were brought up to be rigid, be tough, push our feelings down. You know what I mean? I always say this. I love my parents to death. And they sometimes will watch this podcast, I'm sure. But to be honest, I didn't grow up in the most emotionally expressive household, especially as men. I have a brother who's 2 years younger than me. We grew up in a household where, like, as men, it was just kind of like, suck it up, keep pushing, keep moving forward. And while I think resilience is important, I think there needs to be a balance. I have gone into relationships thinking that you can never talk to a woman, talk to your partner about deep things. And I understand now that was really a really flawed way of thinking. In my last relationship, I had told my partner, so like, I'm keeping it real. Like, um, I was like, hey, babe, like, I don't think that men should talk about, specific things, to their partner, to their woman, because it makes them seem as weak. That's what you got your boys for those certain conversations. When I look at it now, it's a flawed concept. It's flawed. It's a flawed way of thinking, because ultimately, if you have a partner that loves you, if you have a partner that trusts you, honestly, if you have that, you're going to be able to be ultimately vulnerable with them, and they're not going to run away from that. So that is and I think because I had never seen that before, that's where I was guarded against it. And you see, when you start to understand these things, you have to be you as a man. Sure, there are certain things, you're going to have to, we do this, but like sucking it up and suppressing your emotions is actually going to make it worse in the long run. You really want to be able to express yourself. You want to be able to talk to your partner, be able to have those conversations. And likewise, your partner should be able to do the same for you. But I think I had such a flawed concept in the past in relationships that, like, you can't tell your woman certain things, because guess what? They're going to look at you as weak. They're going to like low key leave. And I think a lot of men around me had seen those things happen. So, you project that into your own situation, understanding that's not true. And guess what? If a woman does leave you for that, I'm going to be honest, and that's not your person. That is absolutely not your person. So fellas, take notes on that. And that might be a hard concept to swallow. You know what I mean? That might be a hard pill to swallow. But I'm going to be honest, the right person is not going to do that. That goes to show that they're probably unhealed themselves, if they're willing to run, if you express vulnerability with them. You know what I mean? Because somebody who's secure isn't going to do that. Just like likewise, I'm gonna call y'all men out too. Like, if y'all do the same thing when your woman gets, I can't deal with this, and you run off, you're probably not secure yourself. You're probably unhealed, because a stable partner isn't going to do that. So that was my flawed thinking in the past. I absolutely acknowledge that. And I take accountability. You know what I mean? It was just the way I was, brought up, or, tried to understand, or I think that's the way my wiring was growing up. So I'm all about breaking generational curses, really, not just for me, but for all the relationships in my life. That includes relationships with my family and friends, but that also includes relationships with my future wife and my future children. I want my future wife and children to be able to come to me with anything. I don't care how busy I am. I don't care how many hours I'm putting in work. I don't care how many hours I'm putting in other areas. I will always make time for my wife and my kids. And you know what I mean? And that is such an important thing. You want to be able to have those conversations. But I have seen so many marriages fail due to lack of emotional intelligence in men. I have really, really seen it. So, guys, this is something we definitely need to be better with. In terms of, I want to talk about in terms of the challenge and stereotypes here. So emotional intelligence is going to redefine masculinity, right? That's what I was saying. Emotional intelligence allows us as men to move beyond those outdated stereotypes that we see out there and that equate masculinity with being stoic or emotionally numb. I think I'll be like this. Stoicism is very important, I think, for sure. Stoicism gives you a certain level of calm, of peace in the way you move, not being reactive. So stoicism, I think, is really important in men. But in terms of emotionally numb, no. There has to be a balance. You can be stoic as a man, and you can be a calm presence. But also, you can also be emotionally expressive without getting too, I don't want to say over the top. What's the word I'm looking for here? You can be a calm, stable presence and be able to express your emotions in a calm way too. You know what I mean? You want to feel your emotions. You want to be able to not suppress them. But, you can still be your family's rock and still be emotionally expressive. I think emotional intelligence and being vulnerable, it builds trust. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Being able to talk to your partner about anything is going to foster trust. That also goes for friendships and family too. Like if you guys can both be vulnerable with each other, whether it's your friends or your family or your partner, you can trust each other because you're not holding back. You're being completely open and there's nothing being held back. I understand why some men are afraid to be vulnerable. And like I said, it's probably from a lot of past trauma. Maybe when you've been vulnerable in the past, maybe it was thrown back in your face. Maybe every single time you've been vulnerable in the past, you were kept score with. So that is something that factors in here. I've seen a lot of men be vulnerable with their women, right? And this is where my thinking came in. And then in low times of an argument or something, that woman takes that same vulnerability and throws it right back in the man's face. I've also seen men do it to women too. So I'm not just saying this is a men thing, but I think I've seen that happen a lot with men. And that's why they're afraid to be vulnerable. It's why they're afraid. But what happens is we take those past traumas and we project them onto our next person, not being able to trust. And that really becomes a cycle. And if we don't catch that cycle, if we aren't self-aware enough to catch that, this can be a repeating pattern that continues for years after years after years, maybe for your entire life, if it's not caught. So guys, I would say you got it. This is being emotionally intelligent, being vulnerable. It's gonna challenge the typical masculinity stereotypes, right? Of emotional numbness. Men need to be cold. It's like incalculated, right? It's like I think stoicism is very beneficial to men, but I would also say there needs to be a mix. You don't want to be so stoic that you're an emotional robot or a statue, and you can't have deep conversations with your partner. Because if you can't have those deep conversations, your relationship is going to suffer. It is going to suffer. You want to be able to connect with your partner deeply. You want to be able to connect with them, not just physically, not just sexually, but you want to be able to connect with them spiritually and emotionally. And when you build an emotional bond, it's like nothing else. Your relationship will flourish when you have that emotional connection. You have that emotional stability. The last thing on the challenging stereotypes part I wanted to say was also having emotional intelligence embraces full humanity. What I mean by that is it's going to enable men to express vulnerability, build deeper connections, experience a more authentic and emotionally fulfilled life where you're not suppressing anything. Because a lot of men, we suppress our feelings, but we're not truly being us. We're not being authentic. And that's so critical. We need to be critical, guys. I mean, we need to be intentional. We need to express this. We need to be more emotionally available. Because you hear a lot of women complain about that. There's so many men that are so emotionally unavailable out there. And a lot of it does come from wiring and past trauma. But at the end of the day, we can't blame, as much as like, yes, those are real things. At the end of the day, this is where accountability comes in. You have to be accountable and self-aware. Sure, you may have had past hurts, but that's why I said you need to go to therapy then. You really need to sit down with a therapist, guys, and work these things out. You'll go your whole life not being able to do this if you don't. Not everybody has a strong support system around them. I empathize for people who don't. I'm very blessed that I do. Not everybody around me is my strong support system, but I have people in my life that are, and I'm very blessed in those circumstances. I'm very, very blessed. But I'll be honest, not everybody does have that, and I understand. Like you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say I can fully relate because I'd be wrong to say that because I do obviously have people, but I empathize completely with you. You know what I mean? It's hard as men. I think that's why like suicide rates are so high for men and all those other things because men don't talk about these things. They suppress it and they push it down due to their wiring. I'm going to tell you right now, it does not make you any less masculine to be emotionally intelligent and to work on this. If you are struggling, I'll even say if you're struggling, you don't even know me, reach out to me. Honestly, reach out to me personally. If you're struggling, I don't care if we know each other in real life. I don't care if you're watching from the other side of the world. I don't care if you're watching from the other side of the country. Reach out to me. Honestly, I'm not going to judge you. You know, I'm here, right? All right. Like I'll be honest, I have my own life, right? I am busy. But what I will say is I can try to get you in touch with somebody. You know what I mean? Like if you need therapy, don't be afraid, guys. Fellas, do not be afraid to seek therapy. And also don't give up if like your first session with therapy doesn't go well, because you might not jive with that therapist. But I guarantee that there is a therapist out there that will jive with you. I don't care what levels of trauma that you have. Therapy can be so beneficial, guys. And you want to be right up here so that you can take action in all those other areas of your life. A lot of time, our biggest enemy is right up here. It's inside of our mind. So if you can get your mind right, everything else will flourish. Everything else will flourish. And of course, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a believer in God. So I'm going to tell you, if you have God in your life, but look, everybody's relationship with God, everybody's relationship with religion, their beliefs are all different. I'll never press any specific beliefs on you. I'm just here to tell you that, don't be afraid, fellas. Like if you're struggling, reach out to me. I'm telling you, I'm here. Even if I don't get back right away, I will get back to you. I'm here. So just, reach out to me. If you need my info, you can see, do I have it up here? Let me take this down real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Guys, there's my Instagram. I'm not going to put my cell phone number on here or anything like that. If you guys are watching, so this is if you're watching on YouTube, DM me on Instagram. If you're watching on Facebook, you're already going to see my profile. Just shoot me a message in Messenger if you don't have my number. And if you know me personally, just reach out to me with my number. I'm not going to put my cell phone number out here personally, but just DM me. So if you're on YouTube, you see my handle down here. It's right down here. Right down here. And Ushman 4503, USHMAN 4503. Reach out to me on Instagram, DM me. If you're on Facebook, just shoot me a message through Messenger. And if you already have my number, just shoot me a text, give me a call. But yeah, and then I can get you in talk. You know what I mean? We can talk. But honestly, guys, don't be afraid. Don't fear therapy or anything like that. I, for the longest, was I'm not going to therapy, but I did, and I'm still growing. You know what I mean? I'm not a perfect person. I'm absolutely not. So this is where accountability comes in too, guys. This is where accountability comes in. Being accountable, right? This is first and foremost. This is where we face ourselves every single day, right, as men. And like I said, I understand it's important for both sides, but men cannot get away with being unaccountable. Unlike, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't a shot at y'all women, but I know that there's a lot of women out there that it's not. Us as men, we're very stubborn and hard-headed and very prideful too, right? Like, we're prideful as men, for sure. And sometimes we're very, very hard-headed and stubborn. There's a lot of women like that too. And a lot, it's honest, just from perception, what I've seen, there's a lot of women that won't take accountability, and sometimes they get bailed out more for it. You know what I mean? Than men will. But I'm going to tell you right now, as a man, you ain't going to get away with it in life if you're unaccountable. You have to take accountability. It's important for both sides, though. Women need to take accountability, too, as do men. Any healthy relationship, you got to both have accountability. If you don't have it, your relationship's going to struggle. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to struggle. Stubborn and hard-headedness, that can be overcome. You know what I mean? You got to understand your partner. That can be overcome. You can, yes, but I'm talking about somebody who never takes accountability, never apologizes. That kind of comes off as narcissistic, like a narcissistic trait. And the sad thing is I've known people that have done others wrong, and I've never once heard them ever apologize. Or when they do apologize, it's half-assed. You can tell that they're apologizing because somebody feels a certain way. They're not actually apologizing for the actions that they took. And that's a shame. That's full-blown narcissist. To that point where it's you cannot apologize. I've seen people like that. But I've also seen people who are stubborn and hard-headed, but they will apologize eventually. You can work with that. But if you're not accountable at all, you're not going to have a healthy relationship. So being accountable for a man is very important for many reasons. Number one, it builds trust. It strengthens those relationships because guess what? Through that trust is like, if you're accountable, you're transparent, your partner's going to be able to trust you. They're going to be like, okay, you stand on business. You are transparent. You are honest, and they can trust you more. If you're someone who hides things, and you're not accountable and you don't apologize, that's gonna put up, red flags. It's gonna trigger people because they don't think they can trust you. You know what I mean? And rightfully so. If you cannot be accountable, why should anybody trust you? If you can't apologize, why should anybody take you seriously? That's where pride and ego come in. And as men, we have to put that aside. We all make mistakes. Like I said, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, so I believe that we are all sinful by nature. We're all flawed. We all make mistakes. It's about how do we navigate when we do make mistakes? Do we learn and grow from it? Do we take responsibility for what we've done? And do we change our course of action? Because, of course, you can apologize. You can say you're sorry. But words are empty if you don't follow up with action. So take the accountability. Take the responsibility if you're in the wrong, and then rectify it through action, through consistent action to move forward past it. What it also does is it fosters personal and professional growth, and it allows us to hold up standards. We stand on morals. We stand on business. It creates a foundation of reliability. It creates a foundation of integrity. It allows us for more authentic connections. Like I said, we learn from our mistakes. It's very crucial for individual growth, but also for our community well-being too. It's important for both of it. Like I said, this is going to strengthen your relationships. It's going to demonstrate your integrity. But self-improvement, this is a self-improvement podcast. So this is all about personal growth here, right? There's no personal growth without accountability. So my title for this episode was There's No Stability Without Accountability. There's not going to be stability inside of any relationship that you have, friends, family, your partner, as a man, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. There's no stability inside of your relationship if you're not accountable. Everything goes out the window. You can't build trust. You can't build trust. If you can't build trust, you're never going to have a healthy relationship. So being able to build trust with each other is so important, right? It starts with accountability. If you and your partner can be accountable with one another when you mess up and navigate through that, you're just going to continue to strengthen your relationship. It's so important. This happens, like I said, in friendships too. If you have friends that aren't accountable, I've had to unfortunately remove friends from my life who were not accountable, right? I won't mention names, but it will be very wrong of me to do that. It goes without saying. But I didn't want people in my life if they're not going to take accountability. And maybe there were people that I didn't really burn bridges with, but I don't spend time with them. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be surrounded by people who don't take accountability. I want friends around me to be able to hold me accountable too. If I'm doing something incorrect, if I'm fucking up in a certain situation, I want my boys to be able to come to me and tell me straight that I'm messing up. I should be self-aware enough to understand that myself, of course. But you want friends that are going to honestly tell it straight. You don't want people that are just going to people please, tell you what you want to hear, yes, man, you don't want that. I'm telling you, sure, it feels good in the short term, right? But in the long term, it's actually not beneficial. And that's why I see this a lot of times with women, right? This happens with men, so I see this a lot of times with women. Don't shoot the messenger. But you see women who are in the wrong sometimes. And you see their friends gas them up. Go, girl. Yes, queen. I know y'all can relate, and I know y'all know what I'm talking about. You see this a lot. And that girl might be in the wrong. That woman might be in the wrong. But their friends, they ain't going to tell them that. they're gonna, you know what I mean? I see this a lot with women. I see it with men too, but I do see it, I feel like, more in women. Like I said, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just going off of my perception. When I sit back and I observe, I see that a lot. It doesn't make those people bad. I don't think that they're bad people, but what they do is they give them like how do I say it? Like they gas them up. So it's like you're kind of not yes man in it, you're yes girl in it, and you're telling them what they want to hear. And sometimes, you know, that's why I say too with therapy, it's a non-biased third party. Sometimes you got friends in your ear and they're not really telling you the truth. You know what I mean? They're not holding you accountable. And that's why therapy can be important, because a therapist is a non-biased third party. They're more than likely going to tell it to you straight. So a lot of times we struggle with that. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear this, but there's no growth that comes if you only listen to what you want to hear. I'd rather hear it straight. I'm going to be honest with you, because I don't care how much it hurts, because at the end of the day, it doesn't waste time. I can grow from that. Whereas if you're spending all this time with people in your ear that are telling you that the wrong things, they're not holding you accountable, you could waste a lot of time believing that. You know, you hear it from enough people, you start to believe it. So ultimately, accountability is going to encourage self-improvement. It's going to promote better leadership too. We talk about leadership, right? A lot of time on this podcast. Becoming accountable, it helps leaders focus on results rather than their own ego. This is in the professional world, is what I'm saying. Developing skills. Being accountable, men can challenge, we as men can challenge our own assumptions and learn from our strengths and weaknesses. And that's the critical part, is you want to be able to learn and move forward. If you get stuck in a loop where you're not learning, you're just going to waste so much time. And life on this earth is like, you know what I mean? Life on this earth is limited. You know what I mean? We're not even guaranteed tomorrow, right? You know, we could still be young, but not be guaranteed tomorrow. You just want to be able to learn and move forward. We can get stuck in a constant loop and just waste so much time. And it's also important for your community too. It upholds those community standards. In accountability, that creates a sense of order. Accountability among men is going to be seen as vital for upholding moral and ethical standards within a group. You can lead by example as a man, contributing positively to society. A man who's accountable is more likely going to be able to set that example for others. This goes people in your community, be it for friends, family, for your wife, right? You want to lead your wife, not as a dictator, not as a controller, but just leading with a calm presence, leading with action, consistency, but also when you fuck up, when you mess up, you lead by example by being accountable. You apologize, you change your course of action, and you work to be better. And this also is an example for your kids. Your kids see this too. If you take accountability and you hold your kids, if you hold your sons, daughters to an example too, to a standard, you lead by example. You show them what it means to be accountable. You're accountable to them. You're accountable to your wife, their mother. And that sets the example, guys. It really does. These are things we need to be better with, guys. Like I'm telling you, we need to. And I have struggled with it parts of my life too, for sure. I've struggled in parts of my life with it. But I'm just saying, like, it's just we need to be accountable. We need to be developing emotional intelligence. So Anna said, there is something powerful about a man with emotional intelligence. It gives a woman space to be softer and be her feminine. Yeah. Honestly, like that's so true. And I hear this honestly, like, because like I do this podcast, right? And honestly, this podcast is majority a lot of guys come on this podcast. But I do like sometimes to like, women that I do know in my life, I like to ask questions, so what do they look, because it builds material for this podcast too. And it honestly grows. Like men should honestly have conversations with women more to understand these things, because I'll be honest, a lot of times we just talk to our boys and we talk to our boys about different things, and we learn a lot. If you have strong men around you who are also on a growth path too, you can learn a lot from each other. But sometimes it's good to be able to talk to other women, even if that's not like, your partner, just from like a platonic perspective, to understand women, to really understand them. And a lot of times, Anna, you said it perfectly. A lot of women look for emotional intelligence in a man, but a lot of men are more stuck being standoffish. They're more stuck being cold and distant, thinking that that's what women are attracted to. Like I said, I think stoicism is a very powerful quality in a man. I think there's a lot of women that are attracted to stoicism, but there is a balance with stoicism. You can be stoic, but also be emotionally intelligent. You don't want to be so stoic that you're a freaking statue, that you're a freaking robot. You don't show any emotions. Because I'm going to be honest, we are emotional beings. We are built like men are actually, I would say men are actually first and foremost are wired practically, but we were built with emotions as well. God created us with emotions, which means while women tend to be the more emotional beings out of men and women, because women with hormones and everything else, we still have emotions. We still feel anger. We still feel sadness. We still feel happiness. We still feel all of those things. And a lot of times men they'll suppress them. They don't want to feel them. They'd rather push them down until they build up so much that they're not happy with their life. And you see this a lot. This happens for both men and women, but I would say it probably happens more with men because women are taught to feel emotionally. Like I said, they're more emotional beings. So women are more likely to go to therapy than men are. Women are more likely to express their emotions than men are. And that's just the truth of it. Just like men are more likely to do other things than women are. So you hear it from a woman herself, it allows a woman to be more softer in her feminine, when a man can be emotionally intelligent, it builds a sense of trust. It fosters trust with a woman, that you can be expressive and be yourself. Because guess what? It means that you're not holding back. You're being honest with her, and now she can trust in you, in your leadership as a man. And I think that's so important for sure. Let's check Facebook comments. Fran, my God, thanks for the like. Appreciate you, brother. You're getting a lot of views over here on Facebook. Good stuff, guys. If you're watching, feel free to comment as well. Got another like over here too. It's not letting me see that like. I don't know who that is on that side, but that's all good. Friend, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Got some viewers on YouTube too. Guys, feel free to comment in. I'll wrap this podcast up in the next 5 minutes or so. Actually, I went through all my points. But what I'm talking about here, guys, is just you can be masculine. You can be a protector. You can be a provider. You should want to be. I mean, you should be wired to be that way. To financially provide for your wife and for your kids, to be able to financially provide for you, to be able to protect yourself, right? Be able to defend yourself, but also defend your wife and your kids as well. You want to be able to do that. Those are definitely masculine qualities. But the thing that we don't talk about enough is the emotional side of it. And I think it makes a man super masculine to be able to be emotionally intelligent, to be able to express, to be able to talk, to be vulnerable. That I would say why that is actually so masculine is because a lot of men fear doing it because they're going to get stereotyped for it. And that's where you can't give a shit what other people think. I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot care. You cannot care what other people think. You can only try to be the best version of you. And usually the people that think that way, it's because they were wired that way. Believe me, I was too. So I've been there, guys. From someone who can relate, I've been there. But I'll tell you, when you can develop that sense, and I'm still developing it. Like I said, I will never sit here and try to pedestalize myself and make myself be like I'm some great, great person. I'm just someone who's committed to growth. Like I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to grow. And I'm still flawed. And I still fuck up. I still mess up. Like I'm not a perfect person, but I am committed to growth. which means just learning and growing. You know what I mean? Putting in the work to learn and grow, to be accountable, to understand that I am going to mess up and I am going to fail. And that's okay, because we learn from that. We grow from that. Look, if you'd rather just not face it, then you're never going to grow. And I'm telling you, I have literally seen marriages crumble due to men not being able to communicate or have those hard conversations. I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've literally seen it. No names being named. I've seen it multiple times. And the men who've been in those situations that I know, that's what they say. They're like, they realize their wrongs, and they're like, man, I fucked up. Like I was in that situation, and my wife was trying to have those conversations. I just couldn't have them. I've literally seen it happen. So I can probably say I know like about 5 or 6 people it's happened to. That people that have been close to me that I've seen it happen. So guys, like, this is so important. Like, your woman needs to feel safe. She needs to feel heard. She needs to feel understood. And when you can do that, but also you can still provide financially, you can still, be physically be able to protect them. Honestly, y'all women can comment. Like I said, it's probably going to make y'all feel more soft, more feminine, more attracted to your man. And like I said, if a woman is willing to leave you because you're an emotionally intelligent man, she'd rather you be a robot, not show any feelings. I'm going to be honest, maybe that dynamic can work, but that's where I would really look into, are they a healthy partner? Are they healed? Because a healed person isn't going to react like that. That's where understanding attachment styles are so important too, guys. We were talking about attachment styles in previous episodes. If you remember, we talked anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, fearful avoidant attachment, which is a mix of avoidant and anxious, and then secure attachment, which is what we all should be aiming towards. The majority of people are insecurely attached, which falls in that anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and then the fearful avoidant, the disorganized. It's the middle. It's like a pendulum. You want love and you crave it so bad, but at the same time, you're afraid of it. You're scared. You're fucking afraid of it because you have been through situations where you feel like you can't trust. As much as that love might feel real, you're terrified of it because every person in your life that you've ever gotten close to has always let you down. So you have to understand, like, the attachment styles are real too. But at the same time, it's good to have that self-awareness. That's where emotional intelligence comes in. But what I will tell you is, a truly healed person is not going to judge you for being open and vulnerable. And it is admirable if you want to be there to support someone through their trauma, but also understand that you cannot fix people. People have to be able to make the conscious decision to fix themselves. You can be a supportive and stable presence, but you can't fix somebody. And you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. Just I'm saying this for both sides of it. A man can't fix a woman, and a woman cannot fix a man. So I'll say, even from the women's perspective, like, if there's a man who is not committed to the healing, women, you cannot fix them. That man has to be consciously willing to do it. And the same thing, if there's a woman that is not committed to healing, I don't care how stable you are, you're not going to be able to fix them. You can be supportive, and maybe that's the catalyst, that stable presence that will help them, men or woman. A woman can be nurturing and stable too. And maybe that'll be the catalyst, but you cannot fix. It requires both sides of it, doing the internal work. So understand that if a person is willing to run from you when you're vulnerable, they're probably not healed. And they're probably somewhere along the lines insecurely attached too. Because a secure and stable person isn't going to do that. So understand, that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, because people don't want to walk away from something that is they want so bad. They don't want to do that because it's like, it's me. Nah, like, I just gotta suppress everything and push everything down. Well, it's not healthy. And yeah, that could work for a long time. But in like the super, super long run, it's either probably, number one, not going to work out, or if it does work out, you guys are probably not going to be truly happy together. So understand that, like I said, life is so limited. We only have such a finite amount of time, so many years to live. So make the most of it. You don't want to be in a situation for like 40 years where you're miserable. Life is short. So, guys, I'm going to wrap up this episode about now. Hit that hour mark. We went live almost right on the dot. So, getting done right at 8:30 is where I like it. I do want to say, everybody that, liked, shared, Fran, thanks for liking, brother. Appreciate you. Anna, thank you for the comment. Appreciate that. Thanks for viewing. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, I can't see all the names. Same thing with Facebook. See, we got a lot of views. If you tuned in tonight, I appreciate it. If you liked, honestly, guys, like and comment. I don't even care if it's after the stream. If you watch this on the rebroadcast, please comment or like. Even your comments, I will still reply to them on the Facebook page. YouTube, I'll reply as well. But guys, just want to say, hope you guys have a great night as we get into another week of October. It is crazy to believe that we're already midway through October. It's wild. Time is flying. But I wanted to say, and Anna said, and share. Yes, appreciate that. Anna, yes, like, comment, and share. So get the word out there, guys. Appreciate that. Share this podcast. Share these episodes. It honestly, it means the world to me. It means the world to my team. It gets our work, gets us out there, and also any guests that come on here, it gets the word out there for them too, and it gets them more exposure, which I love. So, guys, like I said, we got a full calendar for the next 3-4 weeks. Hopefully, there's no changes to the schedule going forward. A lot of times, that's out of my control. That depends if a guest. Last week was me. I was a little bit under the weather, so I wasn't feeling great. So I changed it. I changed up the episode, but a lot of the times, that's me being accountable. But I'll say a lot of the times, though, it is guest cancellation. That doesn't mean the guests bad people. It's just everybody's got different things going on, and some things with like family are more priority, obviously, over this. So I understand. With that being said, guys, I do want to say have a great night. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week for episode 231. Like I said, this says 231 on it, but it's really 230. We'll see you next week for episode 231, where my guy Ray Slummer is going to be coming at you guys from Orlando, Florida. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Can't wait to hop on. Ray's a first-time guest. With that being said, guys, have a great night. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.